being run by a guy called Brian Main. And actually, the publicity shot that you actually showed right at the beginning is the
was one of those.
It was that one. And I read your bio, and it was the fact that you'd come back from where I was. So I managed to eke out enough money to fill the car with petrol. I drove down to the seminar. It was a half-hour keynote. And just listening to those words again, I filled up a bit, to be honest, because it was exactly how I felt. I was fearful of change. I didn't feel I was in control of my own destiny. I was desperately trying to find a way to make some money to keep the house, keep us all together. And I came to speak to you at the end of the presentation, and I was looking at initially goal mapping as perhaps something that I could sell, something I could stand up and do. And I asked you whether you were doing franchises or were using other coaches and what have you. And you said, why don't you come on a weekend? We're doing a weekend goal map in London, a goal mapping session in London. Why don't you come along? And I did. And it's probably the best thing I ever did. I fell in love with it. It made perfect sense to me. My first ever map was that I wanted to be financially secure. And I gave myself 5 years to do it. And within that time, I registered myself as a limited company. I'd set up my own business, and I achieved everything in that goal ahead of the end date. But I think the most important thing for me has been that it's something I've had a tremendous amount of fun with, and it's something that's really saved me and worked for me. And I remember, actually, I was thinking about it while I was sort of preparing for this, that the last map we did, before I did the practitioner course, but the last map we did on the 2-day session was the question, the main goal was, what are you going to do with goal mapping? And I remember at the time I was thinking, well, I'm going to do it to earn money, and I'm going to train people, and it's something I'm going to use to provide for my family. And I remember my pen or my crayon going towards the main goal, and I was going to draw some sort of image of making money, sales figures going up and all that kind of stuff. And my arm started to draw a hand, and then another hand. And the hands were holding a gift, a box with a red ribbon around it, reaching out to someone on the other side. And I drew a pair of empty hands receiving the gift. And that has been, ever since, that's been how I've seen goal mapping. It is a gift. And it's something.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, absolutely.
Lifelong.
Yeah, lifelong. And I've been very lucky to train big companies, small companies, one-to-ones. I've done a little bit of coaching one-to-one, but most of the stuff had been in the corporate world.
Workshops. I know you did a lot of corporate workshops with goal mapping.
Yeah, but it's always been fun. And I've been doing other things as well, but I've not been very well for the last 18 months, as you know, although I'm much better now and I'm on the road to recovery.
Health goal map?
Sorry?
Health goal map?
Yes, done a health goal map. And that has helped, because it sort of prioritized, it's okay to not feel well, and these are the things you need to do. So that's been very good. I think I've got a big birthday coming up on Tuesday, a week tomorrow. I'm 60. And that's sort of sharpened the focus that, the chances are I've got less to go than I've already had. And the map I've done, the most recent map I've done is Now We Are 60, or now I Am 60. And it's the map I can see is likely to be the one that drives me from now, with what time I have left to do the things that I want to do now. And you and I had a long conversation at the beginning of the year that I realized that goal mapping is the main focus for me now going forward, and to really start the one-to-one coaching and helping other people, because of the ability to, Suzanne, is you can do it from anywhere in the world. And again, that's something that's important to me, to have the quality of life and have fun doing the things that I love to do.
Yeah, because I know you spend a lot of time away from home and travel with the corporate work and running workshops, etc. So, and see how now being able to work using the online platforms particularly appealing. And Richard, is there a goal for you that stands out as really meaningful that you've achieved for yourself over the years? What's the thing you've been most pleased to achieve?
It's a number of things, but I think that everything that has happened, it's the fact that I know that if I use goal mapping to achieve whatever it is I want to achieve, it will happen. And that can sometimes be a little bit not scary, not daunting. There can be an idea that I realise that if I release this goal map and if I create this goal map, it's going to happen. And am I ready for all the stuff that I need to do to get it all done? Because
Careful what you wish for.
Careful what you wish for, exactly. So again, it's the specific words, and I think you're right that. I mean, when I first started teaching goal mapping in training sessions, it was all about drawing. And one of the things I used to say, which I think it was that, don't worry if you don't have an ability to draw. In fact, it's an advantage that you don't have an ability to draw because you have to really concentrate a bit more than someone who's a budding Leonardo da Vinci. But actually, the online system, I'm completely sold on it now. The fact that you can tweak it and change it and change the words but keep the core of the map, which is the map you've got online now. That's my Now We Are 60 map. I know that I need to change some of the pictures. I've had a slight challenge over the last 2 or 3 weeks in that I was diagnosed with cataracts about this time last year, and they'd been fine up until about 3 weeks ago, and now I can't see a damn thing. So I am squinting at my map and thinking, yes, I do recognize it, but I know that there are more powerful pictures that I can use, which is great because again, I'm going to be using that to underline the map. But there are certain things that I know are going to happen quite quickly, but I can tweak the picture because there is a next stage. I think one of the pictures I've got there is to say I start exercising. And I know the wording is slightly wrong, but I actually need to kickstart myself into exercising. And then once I've done that, which will be like after day 1 that I go to the gym or go for a walk or whatever it is, I can change that to say I am healthy or I am fit. And the ability to keep the main map and just change that little thing is very powerful and useful.
And I know that you've got an operation arranged for your eyes, and your vision will be good after that.
Yeah, that's correct. It's actually it's a week on Friday. I was given the option of doing it on my birthday, but I thought no, I'll wait the extra couple of days. So yeah, June the 2nd. If anyone wants to send me the energy, I'm not particularly looking forward to it. I'm told that I won't feel a thing. Although you can see everything going on, but you won't realise it's you that's being done. But yes, so hopefully I'll have, well, they do one eye and then they do the other, but I will have, by the end of the summer, I'll have 20/20 vision, hopefully, which means I can go and buy all the sunglasses that I always wanted to buy, but always had to have prescription glasses, so I can have a pair of Ray-Bans at last.
Now, you've made a lot of presentations for goal mapping over the years, and you've helped a lot of people. Is there an example that stands out for you that you've been most pleased with helping someone achieve something?
Yeah, there's a couple. The main one is I was very lucky in that I got to do a series of workshops for then Orange, who are now EE. And I did their whole training centre up in Newcastle, and I know you did the presentation to the senior leadership team, and then I was able to do the others. It was very tough for me, I have to say, and I was glad that you were able to mentor me before we started because it was I can't remember whether it was 3 weeks or 4 weeks of workshops, and it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for either 3 or 4 weeks.
Two workshops a day.
2 workshops a day. And I remember you saying, by the end of it, you really will get this. So, which I did. And it was incredibly, it was a tremendous amount of fun, because I was actually, the training room was actually in the middle of this huge floor of the sales teams, and there were 8 or 9 or 10 sales teams, and as the weeks went by, seeing all these goal maps popping up on everyone's workstations, and I could see from the training room, oh, I've done that section, or I've done that section. They're coming soon, and it was great to do that. But I was about, I think it was the start of the second week, and I was just setting up for the first on the Tuesday morning. This girl came up and gave me a great big kiss. And a hug, which was very nice. It was
always a good start to a workshop.
Always great start to a presentation. And she said to me, "You don't remember me?" And I used an old trick that I was taught by someone else about meeting and greeting and small talk. And the answer I gave, which is, well, probably not. Because then they turn around and say, "Oh, I'm Bob from Siemens." "Oh, yes, I remember," or whatever. And she said, I said, "I'm sorry, I don't." And she said, I was in your very first presentation last week." And she said, "I absolutely loved it." And she said, over the weekend, I did the workshop for my brother. And he's a heroin addict. And he went into rehab this morning. And then she started to cry, and I filled up, and she hugged me and gave me another kiss, and she said, "And that's from my mum." And I don't care what anyone else, whatever gift I get. That was just so wonderful to know that I had helped in some small way. Maybe I saved a life. Maybe I can actually say, yes, I stopped someone from having a terrible end to their lives, I hope. So that was wonderful.
And the amazing thing is, of course, Richard, that happened in a corporate workshop. Yes. Where you wouldn't expect the training in a corporate workshop to reach out like that. But it's one of the amazing things, I think, about goal mapping, and why so many of the people that have attended goal mapping workshops in big businesses have become long-term raving fans.
Yes.
Because they're able to use it in other areas of their life, and it takes on a different depth of meaning than just getting a corporate training program that helps them in their career only. I know Microsoft, for instance, bought thousands of the little children's goal mapping books, and were giving those to their employees to hand out to their family, and British Telecom did something similar. Lifts my heart every time that I see corporates making it not just a training, but a gift for people that they can spread outside of their corporate work.
Yeah, well, I had a flip side to that one as well, in that the very first workshop I ever did was a public workshop, advertised and and I actually asked some of my old customers. Initially, my first incarnation, I was a print rep, and I was very good friends with the production director at Simon & Schuster, big Anglo-American publishing company.
I know.
And she came along to the very first workshop, and she'd been she wasn't interacting with everybody else, and it was one of those things where you know that at the end of the session she's going to want to see you. And this was the first time I'd ever delivered it, and after everyone else had gone, I said, "Did you enjoy that?" And she said, "I did, but Richard, I haven't got any goals." And I thought, well, no, that's a first for me. And I said, "Well, let me sit down. Maybe it's the way I've delivered it." And and we sort of started talking. And she said, "Well, this sounds really silly," but she said, "The only goal I've really got is I want to be a great mum." And I looked at her and I said to her, "Don't you think that's the best goal you could possibly wish for?" And the penny dropped. It was like the scales had fallen from her eyes. And it was obviously the way I probably initially delivered the very first workshop I delivered. But the following day, she rang me up and she said, I've given the CD to Mike, my husband, and I've told him he's got to listen to it on the way to work and on the way back to work, and he's not allowed out the car when he gets home until he's listened to the whole CD.